go. Hey guys, how's it going? How is everybody? So yeah, it's a bit of a different live stream, this one. Usually I kind of build things in live stream, but this time I've opted for 60 minutes, 60 questions. So I can see quite a few in chat. Just a couple of ground rules to lay down first. Firstly, please don't spam your question. If I see it, I will do my best to answer it. I will do my absolute best. If I get through more than 60 questions, that's fantastic. But 60 is my aim. Obviously, anyone who super chats gets priority. Those questions will be answered 100%. So if you have any questions, just please ask away in the chat. And if you're watching this after it's already streamed, if you got anything, ask in the comments, and let's see where we get to. So I'm going to have a quick drink, and then we'll start. Okay, so I'm going to start with a couple of questions, which I left on my community tab. So, Jimmy, why don't you keep up with Unity versions? Well, there's a good reason for this. This scene that we're in right now, or this entire project, is actually in version 2018.2. The reason I'm happy using 2018.2 is because I know that for a lot of people, and it has happened to me as well, something I use quite a lot is post-processing, and post-processing doesn't work properly out of the box for 2018.3. Similarly, there was an issue in, I think it was 2017.1. There was a bit of a security issue, I think, and I kind of used that and then skipped forward a bit. And once I find a version I'm comfortable with using, I kind of stick to it until newer versions have been tried and tested. So that's generally what I like to do. Another one is, why do I use animation and not the animator component? Well, the truth is I use both. The animation is legacy. What that means is that it used to be important and now no longer so important as animator. Both work the same way, C# coding, but one is a little different. The animator tab here is actually quite useful, and that relates to the animator component. So generally I like to show everything I possibly can within Unity. I really do as much as I can. Obviously, one day the animation component might disappear completely, but because I teach both, and you can use any version of Unity at any time, you shouldn't really have a problem. Okay, so let's have a quick look at chat. I'm kind of going to ignore some questions. Thing is, where is episode such and such? Can you do this in the tutorial? I'm going to ignore those questions because those questions can be answered on those tutorials. This is specifically for Unity-based questions, or just questions about anything really, not really relating to the tutorials. So people asking me for tutorials, please don't ask them because I won't answer them and you'll waste your question. So Prince Johnson asks, what's the best way to learn programming? Well, for me, I've been programming since I was a child. I actually used my dad's Spectrum to start coding in BASIC, and that's where I started. For me, it was something I just kind of picked up. It was just something I did and something I ran with, and then did it in college, and it just comes naturally to me as a person, I guess. But the best way is just kind of sit down and think logically about how coding works. If you have some coding experience, that's fine, but if not, then your best way to do it is stop and think what you're trying to do in the code, i.e. you want, let's say, to turn this object off. So sit and think about it, maybe write it down on a piece of paper and see where you get to. That may be the best option to do it to start with. Okay, next question. Let's see. Okay, so what got me into Unity to begin with? Well, Unity itself was a game engine that I really enjoyed using a long time ago. 2012 it was. So that my interest there kind of stems quite far. And I think ultimately because I've always had a desire to kind of develop games, it just kind of felt natural for me to pick up Unity and just kind of run with it. It didn't take me too long to actually learn it, but because I already had some experience with game development, because I used I've used RPG Maker and something called OHRPGCE, but because I've also had programming, it kind of felt natural to me. So that was pretty much how I got into it. just the desire to make video games. Okay, so let's have a look in chat. How do you get professional graphics in Unity? Crazy Tech Reviews asks. Well, it all depends on what you consider professional graphics. The reason I say that is simply because some games do look amazingly well, these AAA games, and some look really obscure but really, really nice. So it's all dependent on your own personal belief of what you consider professional. If you're aiming for something like, I guess, AAA quality, then your best thing to do is acquire high quality assets or create those high quality assets yourself. And by that, I mean that you have to take the time. A lot of what I do, in fact, I think pretty much all of what I do here on my channel is all kind of free. So these assets aren't necessarily the best to use, but you can get some really good looking assets using image effects or post-processing. And a good example of that is something which I'm going to put out there for free. I think next month is something called the Demons Inside. And you may have seen me kind of bash around a couple of images, a little bit of information on the Demons Inside. But ultimately, that was created in 12 weeks for free, just by myself, just to show you what you can do. Evergames asks, why are you using Unity Personal? The answer is, why not? Why should I pay for something when I don't have to actually pay for it? That's the question. I'm not sponsored by Unity in any way. Everything I do is purely off my own back, literally off my own back. I don't have any affiliation at all with Unity, so I have no need to actually purchase any kind of license. If Unity wanted me to purchase a license, then that would be different. However, I think I would have to generally fight for that and say, well, why should I? Because what I'm doing here is promoting them. I'm promoting Unity themselves, whether it's free or whether it is the paid versions. Obviously, there are more features if you go into the paid versions, but ultimately there is no need for me because I really only teach beginners. So there's no need for me to go any further than that. Unless one day maybe I will. I haven't considered, because I do like Unity as an engine. I just think that Unity technologies themselves are sometimes questionable in what they do. So I don't really want to throw money at them when I don't necessarily have to. Another question that I've seen bashed around quite a lot is how to promote your first Unity game. Now, this is something that is always going to be tough, promoting your own game. There are places like IndieDB, the social medias. You can promote your stuff on there quite easily. And I think ultimately it's all down to your own kind of social circle. Best way I can say is probably submit your game to IndieDB. Maybe look for some funding on Kickstarter or some other crowdfunding websites. As long as you market it correctly, let people know your game exists, they will come. That's the best way I can say. If people know it, they'll come and see it. So ultimately, and I've said ultimately quite a lot here, you need to kind of work with yourself and develop your own mechanisms for promoting your game. Let's have a look at the chat. I think I've missed quite a few questions. Okay, so I'm going to go back up a little bit, see if we can get some. Okay, so just to quickly recap on what we're doing here, we've got some questions, we've got some time. I'm going to ignore questions on will I make such and such a tutorial. I'm going to ignore questions from spam, and super chat questions get ultimate priority and they will be answered. Prince Johnson, do you code or have apps in stores for a living? Nope, that's not what I do. Actually, for a living, I am in finance. That is my main job, and I do development here in Unity on YouTube, as you all know, on the side. There are certain aspects of working, for a living with apps and whatnot. I just generally don't have the time because I have quite a full life, and I'm surprised I managed to balance it all as it is. So no, I don't do that for a living. Next, what we got? Helios Lung. Would you recommend Itch.io for promoting your first game? I think this comes back to the question I answered a little while ago. Yes, it's one of the places that you could actually use to promote a game. And any kind of place which is genuinely there to help you promote a game is good. That is probably one of the best places you can go to, somewhere which is happy to accept you promoting that game. So I would recommend it. I would recommend it. Let me scroll back up on the chat here, guys, because I know I have missed them. I have missed some. Okay, so AG King asked not too long ago, how many coding languages do you know? So I know various coding languages at varying kind of levels. The main two that I know is C# and Visual Basic, or VBA for those who develop in Microsoft Office or whatever. So VBA itself is something I use for my work as well. Obviously C# I do here. I used to know Pascal, but I haven't done Pascal for quite a while. I know a little bit, well, I'll say a little bit. I know a fair amount of HTML, which is kind of irrelevant these days, and I know some Java as well. So I think generally with coding languages, they are all similar, but they all have their differences. So once you know one, it is fairly easy to kind of adapt and learn another one. So ultimately, I like that word today. That's the word of the day, ultimately. If you know one language, you can easily adapt. So I would say comfortably I know 2 languages. Fairly well I know another 2 languages, and another one is from my past. Okay, that's 10 questions now, I think. So Mido0345, what's the best place or way to find good free assets? Because I can't find any good ones. The Asset Store. Unity has a fantastic asset store. Whether you shop on the old one or the new one, you can find so many cool assets and for free. In fact, the scene I'm in right now, this is a free asset. This is known as Flooded Grounds in the asset store. This is completely free, and this has an insane amount of content. Just an insane amount of content, and it looks pretty good as well. But you can easily adapt this to pretty much anything you want. So if I go and shop on the old store, just as a quick little reference here, if you want to find an environment, if you go to 3D models and go to environment and then click free only, you can then scroll down and take a look at all these cool free environments. And that's that Flooded Grounds I spoke about. There is so much. Some of these are better than others. You'll notice this one from if you were around at the beginning of the stream, this little desert house is from the beginning of this actual stream. It's that. And again, you can make it look however you want it to look. There are many assets, but it's all about how you present them. So I absolutely recommend going to the asset store, please, because there's so many great assets here. Softtech Studios, can you give some tips for a horror zombie game? Yes, the best tip I can give you is think in your mind how you want it to be, and then work slowly towards that. A good example of that would be my survival horror series that I have going on. We started small with that. It looked a bit rubbishy the first couple of tutorials, but you come to now and it looks better. Another 20 tutorials time and it'll look absolutely fantastic, full of cool, amazing stuff. With any game, not just a survival horror, but build up slowly. Build slowly, steady, don't rush it. Just make sure you have a vision in your mind of what you're trying to do, and you'll get there. That's how I built pretty much everything. In fact, the Demons Inside, even though I did it in 12 weeks, yeah, I kind of rushed it. That could have been a lot better than what it is, but you guys will be able to see that in a couple of weeks when I put it out there anyway. So, yeah, just take your time. That's the best advice I can give you, and just make sure you're clear on what you're trying to create. Camper John, maybe simple question, but difference between, I'm guessing that's save scene and save project. Really, there's not a big difference, because if you're in the engine right now, you hold control, press S, If you go to File, you can see it just says Save Scene. However, that does actually save your entire project. So really, there's not a big difference. As long as you save regularly, there's not too much of a difference. It's not something you should worry about too much at all, because you're going to save it either way. Your project is mainly dealing within the scene. It's if you have multiple scenes on the go and you've got this, that, and the other, maybe then think about going to Save Project. But if you're just in your scene and hit Control, press S to save, that's all you really need to worry about. So there isn't a big difference, but every now and again, maybe it would be wise to save project. Let's have a look. What else have we got? Chris Lockman, have you made a game that's available online? So this is a funny one. I did actually make a game at one point, which is related to a tutorial series that I did. That is now no longer on the Google Play Store, just because I've not updated it, and I should have done. But I do actually have, I've said it a couple of times before in this stream, that I have a little kind of playable proof of concept demo coming out soon called The Demons Inside, and that is kind of cool. So yeah, just keep an eye out for that. How many questions is that now? Can anyone tell me? I think it's either 13 or 14. We'll call it 13 just in case. So as I definitely get the 60. So yeah, just a quick recap. We got questions being answered by me. Ask away in the chat. I won't be answering spam questions. I won't be answering anything. Will I make such and such in a tutorial? Can you do tutorial on such and such? Because chances are I already have. You just need to check out the playlists. And any super chat questions get priority answering. Next question we've got from Camille. Oh gosh, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, aren't I? Camille Jakubowski, and says, how do you increase your knowledge about Unity from some tutorials on the internet or from books? I would say both, but you can also increase your knowledge by just randomly playing around. There's a lot of things in Unity I discovered myself just by randomly doing silly things. Like, for example, scale in the game. You can change that around, and yeah, just random things. You won't really get tutorial on how to do that or anything. It's just things you play around with and find out. It's always good to watch tutorials, because it's always good to see what the tutor is doing, because they could be doing something exactly the same but in a different methodology to another one, or how you would do it. But it could also teach you a few different things at the same time. Books-wise are always going to be static and could probably go out of date a bit quicker than tutorials, because people like me on YouTube, we constantly update our tutorials with new ones and new methods of doing things, whereas books, it's hard to get a book written, published, and out there. By the time they've done that, it could have completely changed anyway. So yes, books are good, but I would recommend from tutorials and then your own experimentation. I think that's 14 now, is it? Maybe. Okay. So, Ruhan Kasumi, can you help me? I've made a tree in Blender that's made by two planes. Exported as FBX. Oh, that's disappeared on me. Then dragged it into Unity. Also texture, but it's all invisible in the opposite side of the plane. So what you're ultimately asking me is, well, it's about bringing something from a 3D modeling program into Unity. Now, you have to be a little bit careful, especially with something like Blender. Your best way to get around something like that is, again, experimentation. Bring things in, try seeing what you can do if you apply textures to it within Unity, because for all you know, the face could be there, you just need to texture it, because I do know there is a little bit of a problem with Unity and Blender models. It can be a little bit fiddly at times, but you just need to kind of work on it. So I would recommend just experimenting with it inside the Unity engine and just making sure. If not, you probably have to go back into Blender and just kind of recap what you have done. Okay, so another question. Let's have a look what we have here. Okay, so Jean-Marc Priest, thank you. Very good. Okay, so thanks for teaching. Yeah. But why don't you use third person instead of first? Well, you can. I mean, I do have tutorials where we use a third person. You just may not have seen them. But ultimately, first person is much easier to develop for, especially for beginners. Because I aim for beginners, it's much easier for people to kind of use the first person controller rather than third person. A good example would be, I'll tell you what, let's take a look at the GTA series that I currently run. We use a third person controller in that. I have a couple of platform game tutorials, use a third person controller in that. You could apply that same logic of those third person controllers to any tutorial that I do in a first person view. So by that, you're having your own third person controller whilst I'm having first person, but you're still kind of working with the same methodology there. Next one. So how do you make a list of quests and have the game pick 2 or 3 at random and check if they are done, like Jetpack Joyride? That's a good one. That's a good one. You would have to build an array of quests as such, but you'd also have to make them all available. It could get quite complicated, but it's all about creating an array of what can be done in a level. And just FYI, I do like Jetpack Joyride quite a lot. Yeah, it is pretty good, but it's all about creating an array of quests and generating that using, say, like a random dot range. Okay, so guys, yep, we're answering questions here. Any question on Unity or any question on me or anything on life. No spam questions. Anyone spams, I'm afraid I won't be able to answer those questions. Any asking me to do a tutorial or asking, are we going to do such and such in tutorial, they won't count either, because chances are I already will have done it, and chances are it will be coming up anyway. Super chat questions do get priority, and speaking of which, we do have a super chat from Andreas, but no question. Andreas, my friend, what is your question? Thank you for the super chat, but what's your question? Thanos, if someone publishes any game with your logic, is it cheating? Well, for me personally, if someone publishes a game with something they've learned from me, my assets, no, I don't think that's cheating because I'm the one that's taught them. Everything I do is there for people to learn and create their own product. But it gets to a point where you end up in the realm of copyright infringement. Copyright infringement is messy. It's very, very messy. So no, I wouldn't call it cheating on my part, but it could be at to some degree. If you're taking it from someone like Rockstar, then yeah, that is cheating. That's naughty. But no, not from me because it's all for you guys. Raven Fox, is it possible to make a viral 3D game by yourself without a team? Yes, I think so, yes. Quick answer for that one. If I can make a game, anyone can make a game. I consider myself an idiot sometimes, most of the time, all the time. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. You just need to take the time, do it yourself, know where you're going, and get on with it. Appy CZ, have you thought release your own game officially? I have in the past, however, that project got laid to rest. I don't think I'll ever publish a game, or I use publish in the sense of go to a publisher, 2K or whoever, and publish a game. If I ever do publish a full game, it'll be for free, downloaded on my website, and again come back to the demons inside. That free proof of concept demo will be available next month. So I think there's a Soft Tech Studios. Head back a little bit and listen to what I said. I won't be answering stuff like that, dude. Just a quick one. Camille Jakubowski. It's not a question, but I've noticed on yeah, hierarchy. Sometimes, yes, my hierarchy can get messy. I am terrible for that, I will admit. I am terrible. Andreas, another super chat. So the super chat and the question, can I make my Unity game run on NVIDIA? Well, yes. basically, you're on about the Shield, aren't you? Are you on about the Shield, the tablet? So ultimately, what you're coming to there is you're creating ways that you can play it on a tablet or any mobile device. Yes, Andreas, you can, and it is really easy. Unity actually makes it easier and easier as you get along. So things like buttons and everything are already pre-programmed to be able to be used on an actual tablet. So they're already there. The program is there for you. You just need to kind of work a little bit. So anything you make in Unity, anything at all, can be ported into any device. And that is the great thing about it. That is just the great thing about it. Any device. So main seeker 1486. I know the basics of coding, but I want to learn in a better way. What are your suggestions for me? Coding is always difficult for beginners. I get that. It's hard for me to kind of say, oh, it's easy because I've been doing it for well over 20 years now. But for beginners, it can be difficult. Best way, suggestion I can give is take your time. Know where you want to go with your script. For example, if you want to turn an object off, you want to turn an object on, just sit and think and realize what that line of code is. I have tutorials that you can take a look at and learn many different things in coding. Once you've got the basics down, you can then build on it. So you say that you know the basics of coding. That's fantastic. That's all you really need to know. Build yourself up from there and you can do it. Easy. Lucas, how can you port the game to device without publishing just to my phone? Realistically, you probably can't. Not to get it successful, although it depends what phone you have. For example, if you have an Android device, there is, in fact, I'm just getting on my phone now, there is an app called Unity Remote 5. And ultimately, again, that word, you can use that app and see what it looks like on your phone. To get it on somewhere like Google Play, obviously, you would have to publish. Andreas, that's not what I meant. I meant my game lags on my PC, even though... okay, yeah. So a couple more questions for you, Andreas, and this will be part of the old question. But do you have post-processing on there? Do you have a lot of lighting on your scene? And roughly how many objects are in that one scene? They will all have a factor. Something like screen space reflection on your post-processing may slow everything down. Just check your post-processing. That's usually the point of problems, because in my computer I have a 1050 Ti and that runs pretty much anything just perfectly as it is. So you may need to check lighting, post-processing. I would recommend checking those out first. Let's have a look at chat because it's going past me and I can't see. I cannot see. It's all going too fast. Ruhan, why don't people make an app or game that teaches you to code with mini games, like, for example, which code is to move your character? They do. It's the tutorials. So all these tutorials teach you to do that. You just need to kind of keep up with it and move forward. Honestly, it's easy. You don't really need an app to teach you that when you can just watch these videos. Okay, so I'm seeing the same sort of questions. There's more here. Tips for programmers and stuff like that. Okay. Rasha, that scene looks nice. It does kind of look nice. It's from the asset store. It's old doc thing. It's free as well, so if you want to check that out, head over there and have a quick look. A little bit of modification I've done to it, but not too much. But yeah. Andreas, I have a lot of objects and a couple of boss battles, but I can run GT4. It looks... It's all about optimization, Andreas. That's the thing. If you kind of unoptimize your game, run it and see how it runs, you may be able to pinpoint exactly. So if you take all post-processing out, see how it runs. Take all lighting out, I know that's ridiculous, but take all lighting out and see how that runs. Ruhan, I am taking that as a question, so that's the 25th question we've had now. Which course you recommend in Udemy? I hate Udemy. I despise Udemy. I do not like Udemy. I even publicly state I do not like Udemy. I wouldn't recommend any course on Udemy because you're paying for something that you can get free here from me, Speed Tutor, Brackies. We're all free. Why pay for something when you can get something just as good here on YouTube? Simple. Let's have a look. What other questions do we have? Okay, there's loads of questions. I'm just going to have to kind of pick one at random here. So I'm really sorry if I miss your question out. Paranoid Android, I'm starting to learn Unity a week ago and I have some ideas for VR games. Should I get my legs wet with 2D games first, or is it a waste of time? I think should straight to 3D and VR. Paranoid Android. Now, VR is a funny one because I personally don't think there is a future in gaming with VR, not to the extent of sitting down with a controller. So VR is never something I will touch upon ever, unless my mind significantly changes because I've taken a blow to the head. But I would honestly go straight into what you need to do. Learn the basics of Unity. I have tons of tutorials for you to learn on with that. Learn the basics, and you can easily develop anything 2D or 3D because it's great. Stick with what you want to do. Don't aim high, but don't aim low. Just aim just right. Follow tutorials. You'll be fine. Oliver Burnell, can I make a Galaxy Watch app in Unity? Honestly, do you know what? I'm not too sure because I don't know if that's an actual supported platform. If you go into build settings, you're able to see what platforms you can build for. And I say that anything you build in Unity can be ported to any device, but obviously that only stands for devices which are supported. So looking at this now, I'm going to say no. But that doesn't mean to say that you can't in the future. That's all. Leon says, is it a good idea to buy or use store assets like Playmaker and RPG Maker when you were just starting out with Unity? Will it make it harder or easier? Well, if you're following my tutorials, it doesn't make a difference because I supply you with all the assets that you need anyway, or tell you where to get those assets. So you can if you want to, but don't worry if you can't. Everything is going to be easy if you follow my stuff. There's tons of great stuff in the asset store as well if you want to ever play around with it. Models, environments, scripts, music, anything. So yeah, by all means explore the asset store and see what you can do. Andreas, another super chat. I know I'm asking much, but any chance you can test a beta for my game? I've worked a lot on it and wouldn't mean the world if you did. Absolutely. I say it quite often, Andreas, that I'm more than happy to play, see, and just look at all games people have made in Unity because I am very Unity oriented and I love seeing this kind of work. So we'll hook up at some point this weekend. Just send me a message over on Facebook and yeah, we'll see where we can get to. If you've got videos and stuff, just let me know because if you can let other people see it as well, cool. Because there are points where I'll pin video comments, to other people's videos, what they made in Unity, or on my community channel. So yeah, it may be wise doing that as well. Just send a message on Facebook. We'll see what we get to. Russia transitioning from RPG Maker to Unity. Yeah, RPG Maker was something I used quite a while ago, and I enjoyed it a lot. Okay, so let's see what else have we got. I've missed a couple here. So GFootball, freelance work for Unity. No, I have never done anything for Unity. I've never really done anything freelance. The closest I've ever got to freelance is where people have asked me to just sort out a couple of things in their Unity project, but it's not something I do. It's not something I really charge for either. If people ask me to try and help with their project, it's not too strenuous on my time because my schedule is huge, then yeah, I will kind of help to the best of my ability. Andreas, I'm not going to count that as a question, don't worry. No, I don't do Instagram, I'm afraid. I don't get it. I don't get social media, if I'm honest. I don't get it. So yeah, I'm afraid not. I'm afraid not on that one. So yeah, guys, we're answering questions. Any questions, please ask away. No spam. If you're asking, can I do such and such tutorial? No, I won't be answering those. And any super chat questions get priority. So I think we're on. So this will be question 30 now. I'm a bit behind here. How do you make characters lose limbs, body parts like in Mortal Kombat? Mido. You would need to actually make a model for that or require a model specifically designed for that. Everything within Unity is its own self. So, for example, let's take a look at... In fact, let's go to a different scene. Yeah, everything in Unity is its own object. And if you want to separate parts of those objects, you need to make sure that they are created that way. You can't just have, for example, this tree here and then cut off the top, cut off the middle, cut off the bottom, because it is one single object. You would have to split that into separate objects in a 3D modeling program. So it's not quite as simple as that. A lot of people do misunderstand that, so it can get a little bit confusing for people, but ultimately you cannot split one single object like this unless it is multiple objects stuck together. Raven Fox, what advice would you give to beginners who have a game idea they really want to start but don't know much about the program? The advice I would give is watch my tutorials. It's the advice I'm going to give to anyone at any point. There is loads for you to learn just by watching tutorials. Even if you only get a little bit of information from the tutorials, you know, it's the best thing for you to do. Start slowly, work your way towards what you're trying to achieve, and yeah, just go for it. Just go for it. I don't get social media live streams on YouTube. Well, I don't consider YouTube as social media. Social media is like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. What's the other one? Flickr? Is that one? Seriously, I feel like I'm quite old. I really feel like I'm quite old here. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll back up a bit because I've missed a lot of questions. Let's see what I've missed. Let's see what I've missed. Let's take a random question. Is Unity Pro needed to make good games? No, absolutely not. Unity Pro is there basically as a monetization model for Unity technologies to make money off you when you're actually at the point of developing, creating an app, game, whatever, earning money. It's not as though they're trying to take money from you forcefully or anything like that, although they have been known to kind of push that model on people they shouldn't in the past, but that's neither here nor there. It doesn't make too much of a difference, if I'm honest, because you can still make fantastic games, fantastic looking games, anything in the personal version, which is what I use right here. So, no, not at all. Not at all. Ashspace, I am actually going to ban you right now because I'm not interested in your spam. Okay, so SpectreTube, is there a way to get free Blender, and what is the best Blender to use? Blender's free anyway. Blender is completely free. I think for beginners, it's probably one of the best 3D modeling apps to use. It really is, because it's simple and it gets the job done. You probably just need to Google it and have a quick look. Free. Remember, it is free. So, let's see. Camper John's super chat. And Camper John asks, thanks for all tutorials. I'm watching most of them and use them for reference. No new question. You already answered one for me. Oh, okay. Fair enough. You sure? Mate, you can ask another question if you want. Ash, I'm not interested. I really do not care about either of those two channels. I really do not care. And if you don't care, just dislike this video and go away, mate. I don't care. What is the best music making software? I use something called FL Studio. FL Studio is, well, to be honest, it's not free, but it is kind of cool, and you can make all sorts of things in that. It's kind of cool. So I would recommend that if you've got the pennies to spare. If not, do you know what? I don't really know, mate. There's going to be quite a few you can work around with. Free ones, I'm really not sure because I've never really dealt with FL Studio. Prince Johnson, how old are you? I'm 42. Well, I think I do have it on my Patreon page. I'm actually 33 and I'm 34 later on this year. You can probably tell. Ash, go away. Seriously. No one actually cares here. This is a development channel. No one's interested in PewDiePie nor T-Series. Go away. So yeah, I'm 33. Like I say, you can probably guess that by the fact I've been talking about this for a long time, coding and all that stuff. Other games, will I participate in Game Jam? Afraid not. Honestly, my schedule is so full I barely have the time to do anything these days. So no, that is not something I would do. Purple Guy is a website called Beatbox for making 8-bit music. Yeah, I've never heard of it. If it's good, that's good. Mushy, what's up with the dad? Purple Guy, who's Ash? Don't worry, I won't count that as a question. It's just some loser who keeps trying to bang on about T-Series or whatever. I don't know. I really don't care about that. The guy talking about PewDiePie, yeah. I mean, good for PewDiePie, whatever, you know. Here's me on, 88,000 subscribers. Here's him on tens of millions. It's like, don't care. Jay Nobody, when you start coding? I started coding when I was very young, on my dad's Spectrum. Basic, I'm sure I said that earlier on. So yeah, there's loads of decades I've gone coding, so it's kind of built up from there. So I started coding when I was, I'm going to say about 9, I reckon, probably around then. James DA Spies, can you convince me to use Unity over UE4? No, honestly I can't, because I don't partake in the whole Unity versus Unreal debate. I don't see the point, because everyone's different. If they like Unity, they like Unity. If they like Unreal, they like Unreal. If they like both, they like both. Develop in whatever you feel comfortable in, if I'm honest. If you feel happy in Unreal, develop in that. Because trying to develop in an engine that you don't fully understand and don't like as much as another, it's probably not the right thing to do. So yeah, I can't really convince anyone, and I'll never even try. What else have we got? I've missed questions, haven't I? Missed questions. What do you do besides making tutorials from Lucas? I work in finance for a living. I have a family. I play a lot of video games, and yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much my life, but my job takes up a lot of my time, unfortunately. So when you put all that together, yeah, it really adds up, believe me. Ever Games, what are your PC specs? So my graphics card, I'm sure I said it earlier, NVIDIA 1050 Ti, Intel i5, I think it's 1.8 gig, 8 gig DDR3 RAM, and a terabyte hard drive. And no, it's not solid state. I really should get a solid state, but I don't. Yeah, I don't buy one. Maybe I should. Maybe I will. I'm not sure. Jack, is it possible to program on a mobile tablet instead of a laptop? No, not really. Even if you could, honestly, it's not recommended, because you want to develop on a high-powered machine. Well, not necessarily massively high-powered, but something at least half decent. So I wouldn't recommend developing on a tablet. I go for laptop or a proper PC, if I'm honest. That's going to be your best option. Other games, do you sell your games? Nope, I don't. Everything I do is for free. The only thing I sell, in quotes, is the subscription model on Patreon, and that is just entirely optional. You don't have to do that. You don't have to. So no, I don't really sell anything intentionally, as it were. Next question. What do we have? Oh, Roy. 83 quid for a 256 gig solid state. That's not too bad, I guess. That's not too bad. Jay Marzi says, always wanted to start making games, but never know where to start. Pretty good with computers, graphic design. Is there anything you recommend? Yeah, sure. I mean, download Unity. Just start with one of my tutorials. Figure out what kind of game you want to make, and yeah, do it, man. Just follow tutorials. If you don't understand anything, just take it easy, review everything, and run with it. Honestly, you'll learn so much. Are you excited about almost hitting 100k subs? I am a little bit, but I think over the past couple of years, my YouTube channel's been in a bit of decline, so I've been a little bit off put. Still sticking with it, don't get me wrong. I'll probably hit 100k, I reckon, sometime around July. I've not got anything planned as such yet, but we'll soon see. Well, this whole scene has gone a bit funny. So yeah, this scene was something I've played around in for quite a while. I can't even remember what I did with it now. Ashu, can you make games without drawing? Yes, of course you can. I can't draw at all. I really, really cannot draw. So yeah, you can make games without needing to draw. Honestly, it's easy. Ramon, if I made a game for free, where is a likely place to publish it? Depends. If you get publishing rights, Steam, PS4, Xbox, stuff like that. Failing that, IndieDB, somewhere like that. There's tons of places you'd be able to. Purple Guy, do you take inspiration from other developers? Yes, I do, actually. In fact, a lot of the inspiration I get is from other developers in some of these tutorials. Like the survival horror ones, Resident Evil and Evil Within, inspiration from that. So I have to get inspiration from somewhere because I play a lot of games. So yeah, you can probably see where a lot of the inspiration comes from. Jack, again, is it difficult to implement the process of allowing the player to add build items like in Sims? It's not difficult, but it's not easy, especially for a beginner. The whole thing would be being able to, well, the simple concept would be locate the item, what you're putting down, an area. There's going to be a lot of coding to it. So for a beginner, I would say yes, it is difficult. But for someone who knows Unity and has developed in it for a while, it's less difficult. I've missed a couple of questions. Let me go back and see if I can get some there. Team Fortress 2 or Overwatch? Neither. I don't like, well, I say I don't like, but I've never played either. I guess I'm just not into that sort of game. Those sort of games just aren't for me. I think maybe I would like them, I don't know. But I just don't have the time to try. So sorry, I don't really have an opinion on that one. Yeah, you can publish a game to GameJolt. That's right, Mido. Yeah, GameJolt is another good one. I would recommend that. Jack, I won't ask anymore. Don't worry. You can ask, man. Don't worry. Manu Edison, what is your job? Simple one. I work in finance for a fairly large company here in the UK. Which, yeah, they are quite large and they're growing. It's all right. James Hanvey, is that it? Did I pronounce that right? Is there any advice you'll be able to share if I was planning on making a game like Sport or The Sims? Yes, take your time. That's the advice I can give to anybody, anytime. Take your time in what you're developing and make sure you get there whenever you need to get there. Don't rush things. If need be, draw out a plan and stick it on your wall. You know, it's what you need to do. Just don't rush. Roy, super chat. Thank you, my good man. Can't fault Scousers. Well, you can fault me, mate. No question there, though, Roy. No question. As soon as I see a question, dude, I'll answer. Bring it on. Summit K, I am absolute beginner in Unity. What tutorial series of yours will you recommend? It depends what kind of game you want to make. If you want to make a driving game, I have a driving game. If you want to make survival horror, I've got survival horror. If you want to make a platform game, I've got a platform game. If you just want to know the ins and outs, I have a couple of series that you could follow. There's one that's currently got 51 tutorials in. And there is another which currently has, I think, just under 20 in, but that one's going to go on for a long time. So we're going to learn quite a bit with that one. But yeah, work out what you want to make. And if you can't work out what you want to make, just take a look at my channel. You'll be able to see what looks nice enough for you to try and learn. Yanis, in what state do you actually live? I live in a state of inebriation some weekends. That's exactly what I'm going to do after this live stream anyway. I don't actually live in the United States. I live in the United Kingdom. I live in the Midlands, the middle of the UK, and I used to live in the Northwest. But yeah, I'd like to live in America, believe me. I would absolutely like to. Roy, the problem is I don't know how to do that because I've never put a game on Steam. Never done it. So I can't, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Sorry, man. It's a typical one. You know, I should know, but I don't because I've never published to Steam. Maybe one day I will. Maybe one day. Who knows? Okay. So James, what was it you were actually looking for then? So, Abdallah, can you make a city from real life? You can. You can actually do that. Oh gosh, I forget what it's called, but you can actually take a terrain of you know, somewhere in the world, and then you would have to use your own development skills to build that city up. It'd be quite tough, but it is entirely possible, just with a bit of time and patience. Yeah, Mido, you have to pay a fee to publish a game on Steam. I think it is that is true. Again, it's not something I've ever done. I've read about it, but I've never actually done it, so it's a tough one for me. Sjord van Plog? Looking for a save and load script. Is that hard to make? No, not at all. You just use player prefs. Player prefs are a great way to save and load data. I have a couple tutorials on them if you want to have a little look. I would recommend it. Google height map. Yeah, it's a good one. Terrain party, that's the one. Boom. Roy's got it. Terrain party. Gosh, I feel like I'm getting really old and not remembering things. Okay, so J Nobody, are you into football? Right, this is a tough one, okay? I'm going to get controversial here. When you say football, do you mean football or do you mean soccer? Soccer? No. American football? Yes. You could probably tell that by looking at some of the videos I have. You can see I do wear a lot of NFL tops. I like the sport, but my team are the Raiders. That is the team even though they had a rubbish season. And I do, because I come from Liverpool originally, I do have this kind of inbuilt thing in me to say, yeah, I like Liverpool. I used to go to watch the games when I was a kid anyway. Roy, yes. Well, yeah, Roy's got it. So, Squad Studios, will you do tutorials on realistic environments? Creating realistic environments requires realistic assets, which cost money. So, no. But that doesn't mean to say that you can't make it realistic doing free. So you can get free assets and make them look realistic. You just need to do the work. So, you know, Go figure. Jay Nobody, the real football, not American. Man, soccer is soccer, football is football. I have this argument with guys in work as well. I love American football. Mushy, what is with Dad? Seriously, man. What are you on about? Spectre 2. Sci-fi games or any of the game gonna have to be sci-fi. Is that a question for me? Is it a question for me? I'm not sure. Ashu, do you have tutorials for beginners? Yep. Everything's for beginners on this channel. Everything. There's what, nearly 600 tutorials. I aim for taking people from absolute beginners to, you know, a nice kind of intermediate level. So yeah, everything is for beginners. Okay, so I've been counting this and we're on 56 questions. So we got 4 more, guys. 4 more. So make them count. Make them count. I'm going to scroll up and see if I can find one that I've missed. And gosh, I'm trying to find one I've missed that is actually quite useful. Gosh, I can see really random questions here, like 50 minutes already, and that was like 10 minutes ago. No, Mushy. I'm not gonna count that as a question. Jay Nobody, have you ever made your own assets? Yes, I have. So some of the stuff you can download during these tutorials, things I've created. I've even gone at one stage to kind of show you how that asset was created as well. I think it was a door in the RPG series it was. So yes, some of the assets are created by myself, and others that I use I've sourced for free, you know, or the asset store or whatever. So yeah, I do actually create some assets myself, and I still do use Blender a little bit these days. It's quite useful. It's a good, I've said it before, it's a good program. Ashu, I want to make games. Which software you suggest to beginners? Okay, I'm going to suggest Unity as the number 1. Blender for number 2. For music, I'm going to say FL Studio, but that isn't free, so you just got to be careful. And I would say Photoshop as well, but again, Photoshop isn't free, but you can find alternatives. But as long as you're able to use things like Blender and Unity, you should be all right in making games. You'll be all right. You just need to kind of take that time. That's all it is. That's all it is. Okay, 2 more questions. 2 more questions. Yanis, no. I already told you. I'm not answering that sort of question. I'm not answering it. Okay, so I have seen a question. Right, okay. Spam. Not a fan of spam. Okay. Wow, it's all going fast, trying to keep up. Okay, Chan, quite new to game dev, learning from YouTube tutorials by different people, quite fragmented. Can you describe how you plan step by step a full game so you have a more full picture? Yeah, doing that sort of thing is going to take time. So you need to plan and plot out end, middle, beginning. I always like to start with the end because you know where you need to get to and work backwards. So have like a bit of a flow chart of where you want to go and just run with that. Easy. It's probably one of the best things you can do. If you can draw, that's great. If not, just doodle, sketch, anything. Absolutely anything. Yeah. Okay. One more. Oh gosh, there's tons of questions here. Okay, do you like Metal Gear, and can you make a tutorial on stealth mechanics? I'm not a fan of Metal Gear, honestly. This is the 60th question, by the way. I'm not a fan of Metal Gear. I tried playing the first one back in the 90s and just could not take to it. As for the mechanics of it, yeah, it's something you got to work on. But yeah, you probably could with it. Mushy, come on, man, pack it in. It's not funny. These live streams, guys, are for, you know, they're not for spamming. Don't do it. It's not funny, guys. Okay, so I'm going to answer one more bonus question. Let's make it 61. Let's make it 61. Okay, see if I can find one. Let's see if I can find one. James, I'm not going to count this as the question about the Sims Spore. Yeah, you're going to struggle to find stuff like that because people that know how to use Unity know how to do that because they've learned from it. That's not a beginner thing to even try and learn, try and attempt. So you're not going to find specific tutorials on that. It's something you're going to have to kind of build your own knowledge with, I'm afraid. So just kind of start from the beginning, learn things, and then just build your own knowledge from there. Okay. Chat's gone dead. Chat has gone dead. Belgium, what's the first step to making a game? Okay, I'm going to have that as the bonus one because I'm going to have a cop out on this one. Rewind. I've probably said a million things in this live stream. The best way to have make a game, the first step. Quick recap. Just have a look at my tutorials in a playlist. Have a quick gander, a look through, and yeah, you can do it. Oh, Jay, nobody. Is there anything I'm keen for in 29 up to? No, not right now. To be honest, I think Unity 2018.2 that I'm using is relatively decent. I've not seen anything that really stands out to me for 2019, but hey, who knows? Who knows? We'll see. You never know what could happen in 2019.2, 0.3, whatever. So, guys, it's been a very talkative live stream. Lots going on. It's been great talking to you guys again because it's been a few months since the last live stream. So we'll see if another one comes along real soon. You guys all have a great night, and if you want to know anything else, always leave a comment here or on a relevant tutorial. Yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you around.